want to remind everyone that celebration of being Filipino does not end here today. We got to carry that everywhere we go. We got to carry that throughout the year.
Spark, Connect, and Empower is a movement born in San Francisco to engender love and passion for Filipino heritage and culture among Filipino Americans. In the process, connecting them and empowering them as individuals and collectively as a community.
Pinoy ako! Proud ako! Pinoy ako! Proud ako! Pinoy ako! Proud ako! Pinoy ako! Proud ako! Spark, connect, empower, Pinoy 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 ako! Listen, Phil, I'm to the next generation. Millennials, you are the future of the nation. Embrace your past, be proud of who you are. Spark, ignite your pride and curiosity. Connect with one another and with your ancestry. Empower, be the forefront of the community. Be proud of who you are. Pinay ako, taas noo, ang mamalaki ko sa buong mundo. Pinoy ako, at proud ako. I'm proud to be who I am. I'm proud to be a Pinoy. Pinoy ako, proud ako. Be proud of your race and your identity. Be vanguards of your culture and heritage, you'll see. Come and belong, stand tall, then you'll know. It's fun, oh so fun to be a Filipino. We're diverse, we are many but united. Be proud, shout it out and show we're not divided. Behold the Filipino spirit that's in you. Pinay ako, taas noo, mamalaki ko sa buong mundo. Pinoy ako, at proud ako. I'm proud to be who I am. I'm proud to be a Pinoy. Pinoy ako, proud ako. All it takes is a spark to connect and empower nation building beyond the borders. Come and celebrate who we are. Pinay ako, taas noo, pagmamalaki ko sa buong mundo. Pinoy ako, at proud ako. I'm proud to be who I am. Yes! Pinay ako, taas noo, pagmamalaki ko sa buong mundo. Pinoy ako, at proud ako. I'm proud to be who I am. I'm proud to be a Pinoy. I'm proud to be who I am. Yes, I'm proud. I'm proud to be who I am. So proud. I'm proud to be who I am. I'm proud to be a Pinoy. Pinoy ako! Proud ako!
Magandang umaga po, mga kababayan. Good afternoon, good evening. I'm saying this because we're trying to reach as many Filipinos all over the world, wherever you are, no? And so, wherever you are, greetings from San Francisco. And today is a very special day because we have a very special guest, a guest that I remember during my younger days. And so it's very good to see him once again, no? Up close and personal, breathing, living. And not only that, but a source of knowledge and information and wisdom. I'm basically talking of RJ or Rene RJ Ledesma Jr. For many of us in my generation, we always remember him as Joey. Why? Because he was always in that commercial of True Orange, actually, and he did popularize that brand, that product, with this very nice commercial. And this was in the late 80s to the early 90s. For those who who of my generation, they were still young. He was that young, nice boy who had a crush with another beautiful lady, and we grew up with him practically. And Joey is that person. His real name obviously is Rene RJ Ledesma. We'll call him RJ. But he's not just that commercial. He's more than that. Actually, he's larger than that. Just to give you a few points. Actually, I'm not sure if it's few because his CV is a long list of robust accomplishments. And just to give you an eye view of who this person is, he has worked in not only did he work as a commercial model, he was also a television. In fact, he is a good MC, no? A host. And he has been hosting a number of feature and current affairs programs and drama series, in fact. But beyond that, in terms of his academic background, listen to this. He holds a master's degree in real estate development from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. And he graduated with a double degree in applied economics and business management in 1995. Kaya pala nawala siya suddenly from the television. Now I know what happened, and it turned out very well. At the same time, he's also in the public servant, no? In terms of being a consul of Monaco. He's the honorary consul of Monaco to the Philippines. Hopefully one day we can go to Monaco and he can give us a tour. But in the meantime, he is also the co-founder of Mercato Centrale Philippines, which is the largest and most popular night food market and small food business incubator ecosystem in the Philippines. So you must have heard or you must have seen this in the television, that night market in Taguig or Bonifacio. That's in Bonifacio, right? Bonifacio.
That's right.
Yeah. And but his CV does not end there. So you have to pardon me. I thought I should give justice to this person by telling you his background, no? And so to continue, he won several awards for entrepreneurship and business. Obviously, he has more into that. He's also into yoga. In fact, he is a certified yoga instructor. He is a columnist, he's a writer, he's an editor. And in terms of the SME entrepreneurship, he is also an Agora awardee for excellence in entrepreneurship and an accredited Go Negosyo mentor for his work in Mercato Centrale, where he recently won the 2019 SME Company of the Year at Asia CEO Awards. The 2019 SME Company of the Year Awards, Excellence in Innovation, Philippine winner at the ASEAN Business Awards, and the SME winner in Business Model Innovation, the 2020 First Mansmith Innovation Awards. He is also a co-founder of EnterPH, which is a market entry consulting firm for foreign offshoring outsourcing business. Maybe we will ask him more about this. This is very interesting, especially for our PhilAms. No? And Easyfranchise, which is an online franchise marketplace that connects franchisors and franchises. For solo entrepreneurship, he is a listen to this, Hall of Famer and a 3-time Best Male MC at the Aliw Awards and a 3-time National Book Awards finalist who has written 6 best-selling books. He opened the first ever food truck market here in San Francisco. We have that's a very common sight, and in the Philippines, that culture, that innovation, he has brought it back to the country, that idea. No? He opened the first ever food truck market in the Philippines, developed regional weekend food markets in key regional cities around the Philippines, including Subic, Pampanga, and as far as Cagayan de Oro. So the guy is all over the Philippines, all over the archipelago, from north to south. No? He developed the pioneering Next Big Food Entrepreneur Contest to encourage incubation of food startup companies. And so Mr. Ledesma is also the first Asian to deliver the valedictory speech at MIT Center for Real Estate. That's a real pride for us Filipinos. And he currently hosts the Bright Ideas on Bloomberg Philippines One News, a show that focuses on the local tech startup scene, and Philippine Realty TV on CNN Philippines. Yet, despite all his successes, despite his achievements at MIT, he could have decided to stay here in the United States and pursue opportunities here. But guess what? He decided to go back to the Philippines. And we are interested to know why. And so perhaps this is a good opportunity for RJ to explain to us the reason why he went back to the Philippines when he could have found better opportunities here in the United States. But I think he found much, much, much better opportunities in the Philippines. And so we will ask him that question later on, and he can give us his oversight, his view on that point, especially in the context of the pandemic. The CV is still long, but I think reading the entire CV will take us 1 hour, and we will have no more time to ask those important questions. So I will stop there and greet. Hello, RJ. Perhaps you would like to greet.
Hi, magandang umaga po, magandang hapon, magandang gabi po sa lahat ng ating mga kababayan sa iba't ibang parte ng mundo. Maraming salamat, CONGEN. Very appreciative. I appreciate so much your efforts to bring me over here. It's truly a privilege and an honor to be part of this discussion. Special shout out lang kay Director Celine Layog, who brought me here from the DTI. Matalik kong kaibigan yung mga taga-DTI, especially those who belong to the sector, serving the different parts of the world. At sa mga nakakaalala po sa akin mula sa Royal True Orange, kumusta pa kayo dyan? Naturad. You know, Congen, very interesting story. Yung, di ba ako si Joey dyan sa commercial ng Royal True Orange? Yes. At yung kasama ko dyan ay si Jenny. Yan yung crush ko sa commercial. She's now based in the States. Her name is Hazel de la Cruz, and she's actually she lives in Colorado. She's happily married and lives in Colorado right now. And up to now, people ask me where she is, and I found her through the power of Facebook. And she's very happily married, living in the States right now. I'd also like to greet my good friend, I think Consul Ricarte Abuela, si Butchie Abuela. I think he's in New York right now. He was my classmate in grade school.
Wow. Nice to hear that. Ang galing. So, very good. Thank you. I almost called you Joey again. I hope you don't mind it.
Okay na po. Sanay po ako sa Joey. Oo, sanay na po ako sa Joey.
Pero RJ, thank you for that, and thank you for guesting and taking the time to speak before this program. No? So Joey, I'll go back to the first question I did ask.
Yes, sir.
Bakit ka bumalik ng Pilipinas? You're an MIT graduate, yet you went back to the Philippines. What made you make that decision of going back to the Philippines?
Well, I think that's a really great question, and let me just frame it also. Let me just give you when I went to actually to do my graduate school in the States. It was in the year 2000 2001. So you know, during the time, I mean, right before that, when the U.S. economy was doing very, very well, but it was a bubble economy in the States, and the bubble had burst by that time. Come 2000 and 2001. But the bigger thing was that I graduated in the wake of 2011 of the 9/11. And I remember that when I graduated over there, 2 weeks before I actually gave the valedictory speech, they had closed all flights coming into the States. And my parents almost missed watching me give my speech there in MIT. So, you know, in the States, it wasn't a very welcoming time for especially, I guess, foreign graduates to come and work over there. But this is the bigger thing, Congen, that I want to put in people's minds now. I was really raised as an entrepreneur, and I have what you call an entrepreneurial mindset. So what people see as, let's say, for example, pain points or problems, I see as opportunities to do business. So let me just put it this way. You can see that we both wear pairs of glasses, right? And I often compare being an entrepreneur to wearing a pair of glasses, diba? if I forget my pair of glasses and I went to the States and went around San Francisco and I forgot my glasses, I can't see the Golden Gate with clarity. I can't see all the tourist spots with clarity because I forgot my glasses. But all of a sudden, when I wear my entrepreneurial lens or my entrepreneurial glasses, I see things clearly through an entrepreneurial opportunity. New angles, new opportunities, new businesses. That's how I feel about doing business here in the Philippines. Sometimes, if you look at it from the people, especially if you had migrated and left the country, I understand, which is a perfectly good option. You would still see things like that. Oy, maraming problema sa Pilipinas, maraming hindi tama sa Pilipinas. But all of a sudden, if you start wearing your entrepreneurial glasses and look at the Philippines, you will see things in a new perspective or a new light. You don't see things as, ay, problema, aalis na ako. You see, ay, may problema dyan, maraming pwedeng ayusin at maraming mga oportunidad para kumita ng pera at makatulong sa bayan. And that's really how I saw it. And there's a lot of opportunities which we can use to help solve the problems in the Philippines. And that's why, aside from me just doing this interview, it's also my advocacy to ask many of the Filipino Americans, first generations, na nanggaling po dito na nag-migrate dyan, and especially our second generation Filipino Americans who've just heard stories about the Philippines but don't know enough. Hi, take a look now with your entrepreneurial lens. There's a lot of problems, but there's also a lot of opportunities that can be solved. And through the course of our discussion here this morning, this evening, CONGEN, I'd love to share the stories of Phil-Ams whom I know are coming home to the Philippines, have seen the opportunities, and are literally exponentially growing their businesses over here.
Wow. Maybe this is a good time now for you to elaborate on that, those experiences, and essentially what do you think are the opportunities that await our kababayans to not to hold on anymore and wait and go and make the rush to the Philippines.
Okay, great.
What is this opportunity?
Okay. So first, let me discuss one of the companies which I run, so it gives people better opportunity to understand what I'm doing. No, one of the companies I run is called EnterPH. It's a one-stop shop consultancy firm that helps foreign businesses set up shop here in the Philippines. And for this type of businesses, I'm looking at both. You know, I wanted to step back a bit now and discuss where I'm coming from. You know, the Philippines is one of the most competitive call center, contact centers here in the world. We know that next to India, in fact, we've taken over in terms of call center. And one of the reasons we've taken over in terms of call centers, also the Filipino attitude. Aside from having that neutral accent when we talk for contact centers, it's more importantly, it's sort of like the Filipino character, you know. We know how to handle irate customers online. No? So we're one of the largest contact centers here, contact center places in the world where people bring their businesses. And according to the Internet and Business Process Association of the Philippines, IBPAP, one of the largest umbrella organizations for all the contact centers coming into the Philippines, which include software development, gaming, and all these different things. What they said was that the time that industry grew the fastest in the Philippines was from 2008 to 2010. And you have to step back and wonder why that was happening. It was happening because because of the recession in the States, many US businesses were looking for a place where they could do cost recovery or cost savings, where they could do the business, where technically what they would spend $1 on in the States, they could only spend 20 cents on the 20 cents to $1 and still get the same quality of service. So many of these companies actually outsourced the golden age of our BPO industry was from 2008 to 2010, during the time that the state was undergoing a recession because they were moving to the Philippines. Now, that's exactly what's happening here right now during this pandemic. EnterPH, we've been in business for about 3 years now, getting foreign companies to outsource or offshore to bring their businesses to the Philippines. And we have been doing good business for the past 3 years that we've been operating. But we've been having a spike literally in inquiries of people wanting to do business here in the Philippines because they want to take advantage of the cost savings that people are realizing right now. Many of them wanted to come in because of this pandemic. So it's really a great time to come over here. And if you look at why we're such a good, why people want to come over here, aside from our English language proficiency. And I'm sure Phil Abs would know that our English language proficiency in the language. It's also our familiarity with Western culture. Of course, we were colonized by Spain. We were colonized by the U.S. We understand U.S. culture very, very well. That's why many of these companies like to come over here. But aside from that one, Filipinos are very easily trainable. And we got out of college graduates. We produce about 700,000 a year. That's why we've got a strong OFW market in the Middle East, because they're college graduates and they're easily trainable. So if you look at that one, I mean, it's a good country. A lot of great graduates. A lot of cost savings is there. The English language proficiency is there. People are very easily trainable. We see a lot of people wanting to outsource the businesses over here. But my question is, why look at these other countries, or why look at these people who want to outsource over there, when I can look at the Filipino community, our Filipino expat community, our Filipino diaspora community, to be the first ones to come over to the Philippines and look at these opportunities which they can create. And they're both not just from a contact center outsourcing standpoint, but also from a startup standpoint. So this is my first call for people to come over here. If you want to set up, if you're a Filipino American, you currently work in a company that can outsource different processes here to the Philippines, whether it's in finance, architecture, legal work, because our legal framework basically is very much of the jurisprudence comes from the US, diba? So there's many things which they can actually outsource over here, where you can do the back office work here in the Philippines for a fraction of the costs. Companies in Singapore are doing that already right now. Why not more US companies do that in the Philippines? And if you're a Filipino there, champion that call. If you're a decision maker over there in your companies, champion that call. Bring those companies to do their outsourcing here in the Philippines. And these are not just large companies doing it, CONGEN. These are even small companies. The MSMEs, the micro, small, and medium scale companies in the States, if they want more runway for their money, they can bring the businesses here. Plus, you're helping a really good family. For, let's say, you pay somebody maybe $1,000 a month here. That's already management level positions here in the Philippines where they can do business in the country, and you'll be helping. The multiplier effect of improving the economy is much, much better. So that's the first one. So if you're a Philam, whether you're first gen or second gen, please bring your business over here. You can go to the office of any consulate over there. They will tell you the benefits of putting your business in an export processing zone authority, so you can get tax holidays, tax breaks. You can find out all the places where you can get incentives to do business in the Philippines. That's very, very easily accessible in our consulate offices. But the thing is, number one, start off with putting your businesses over here. The second one, many Filipino Americans, second generation and even first generation, are actually coming home to the Philippines because they're establishing businesses. I'm always very excited when I talk about a business called Pawn Hero. Pawn Hero is a business that is disrupting the pawn shop industry here in the Philippines, because there's a foreigner. He was a German expatriate who came to the Philippines, and he noticed that in the Philippines, sa bawat kanto dito, may sanglaan, may pawn shop. At sabi niya, they're charging such low appraisal rates but high interest costs. So he said, let's flip that business model. I'll get one warehouse, and in that one warehouse, I'll get really good appraisers to give you good appraisal rates and low interest rates. So he put up this company here, which is called Pawn Hero, disrupting the pawn shop industry. And sabi ko, how come it takes a German expatriate to see what our problems are and make money from it? If you've got the same Philabs over there who've been educated in the States, who are good entrepreneurs, who can see problems, why don't you be the one to come over here and start creating these good opportunities where you take what you've learned from Silicon Valley, where you've taken what you've learned from Google, and put up businesses over here that can really reshape the Philippines by don't look at the Philippines without your glasses. Don't see all the problems. Put on your entrepreneurial lens and see the opportunities. Who am I seeing right now? Philabs are doing really good jobs here in the Philippines. Number one, you've got the person who put up Caliber here in the Philippines. I'm so sorry. Paul Paul, he put up the business here in the Philippines. Caliber is a job matching platform which is scaling not just in the Philippines but across Southeast Asia. And he was basically somebody who was educated in the States. I think he went to one of the UCs in the States, a University of California, came to the Philippines, put up that business. It's growing very fast. Another one, Kumu, which is a live streaming app, which is basically by Filipinos for Filipinos. It's growing in not just in the Philippines, but also in different Filipino communities around the world. Was put up by Roland Ross, who's also a Philam, who said, the land of opportunity is not in the States, it's bring it to the Philippines as well. So that's where they're seeing the opportunities. We've got another one, Earl Martin Valencia, who used to helped put up an incubator here in the Philippines, moved back to the States. But right now, he is doing business in the Philippines by creating a fintech app using what he knows from the States, diba? Using these opportunities there to create business over here. An MIT grad put up a business called PayMongo, which is a payment app that accepts different payment forms over here. So these are really the great opportunities I'm seeing, that if you're living in the States right now and you want to do business in the Philippines, there is so much opportunity for you to do that one. And that's what EnterPH is all about. We help foreign businesses start up here in the Philippines. So one of the first steps, if you're interested to put up a business over here, and one of the biggest worries that they have is, how do I manage the bureaucracy, the red tape? That's why I'm in business. I address your pain point of setting up here in the country. So if you're looking for particularly how to set up the business legally, how to look for people to populate the business, to be people working for you, how to network with the people here in the Philippines, with the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry, with the startup industry. That's my job. That's what I do to help set up people across those different industries. And I'm always very enthusiastic to talk about this one because there's so much opportunity that you can come and do for the country. Now, if you want to put a business here in the Philippines, you can, I often tell CONGEN that, especially if you are a Filipino citizen, that's great because if you take dual citizenship, you can get, you can go back to the consulate anytime, take your oath of citizenship to the Philippines. You can do a lot of things that foreigners cannot do in the Philippines. You're not part of that negative list. You can own property. You can set up franchise restaurants here in the Philippines because you're a Filipino citizen. So, if you're also a second-gen Filipino-American, you might have neglected the fact that you can actually become a dual citizen here in the Philippines as well. And these are the opportunities that you can take advantage of here, particularly right now. Step back and look at the Philippines, guys. What are the opportunities that you're seeing? Number one, we are the 12th most populous country in the world. Our domestic economy alone, you can take advantage of. You can grow businesses. We're about 110 million pesos right now. If you made 1 peso for every citizen in the Philippines, that's still 110 million pesos. We are, I think, right now the 4th largest remittance coming over back from all over the world. People sending money back home. We're the 4th largest. That's helping keep our economy afloat. That's helping keep our at least our currency competitive. But take a look at these type of advantages that can happen here right now. What are the industries that people can grow in the Philippines right now? Okay, we know that the economy technically is in a recession, but that's really because of the pandemic. But you know what? All the essentials here in the country are still here in place. We're one of the best fiscally managed countries right now in Asia, and that was by design. Over the years, we've come to that point. Our credit rating, we've been getting higher credit ratings. In fact, during this pandemic alone, the Japan Credit Ratings Agency upgraded the Philippines during this period of time. We are still continuing the build of President Duterte. So infrastructure is improving so much here in the country. And what are the bright spots in our economy right now? Despite the fact that almost everything was at a standstill, and that's particularly the main reason behind the standstill is because nothing's been moving. Agriculture was a bright spot. We grew by 1.6%. CONGEN, we're from Iloilo. We're from sugar country. We know how big agriculture is over here. If you are in the States and you've got great agri-tech technology, bring it over here. And that's one of the advantages I'm saying right now. People living in the States, there's so much that you can bring in terms of technology over here and help improve the country and really do a great job. Recently, there's a company called Rene Rice. They brought really high quality. They're doing high quality rice over here by bringing the best factory to produce rice using technology to do it here right now. Why can't you? Same thing to the Philippines over there. Why can't you bring the technology here as well? With this advent of digitalization, of digital transformation, you know, one of the biggest things, especially for MSMEs, because of this crisis, is that, you know, one of the brighter spots is right now, we're literally transforming everybody's trying to pick up doing online e-commerce, doing online ordering, creating e-wallets. One of the biggest things that you can do right now if you're in the States is, if you're in the fintech industry, how can you do more financial inclusion technology to include people? You know, we have a highly unbanked community. Maybe just less than 1 to 2% have credit cards. Less than 5% are in the banks. How can we bring them more into the economy using finance, right? How can we improve agriculture? How can we improve manufacturing? You know what? People are going to wonder, you know, is it a good time to invest in the Philippines? This is probably the best time because you're going to be part of that recovery from this pandemic to introduce technologies. Right now, they're doing the Bayanihan app. Right now, the Philippine government is bending over backwards to bring in investments over here. If you bring it in right now as a PhilAm, bring in whatever technology you have in agriculture, in tourism. My goodness, our tourism is going to be doing very good. In infrastructure, in manufacturing, so many different things that you can do here in the Philippines. The government will encourage you, and you will be part of that recovery. You know, whatever happens, this is just a technical recession because of a health pandemic. But still, in 2050, the Philippines is predicted to become a first world country by that time. Imagine if you can take part right now. It's the best time, di ba? We often tell people, when is the best? I'll give a real estate analogy. When was the best time to invest in real estate? Yesterday, right? So the best time to invest in the Philippines right now, as we pick up, especially during this crisis, is right now. There's a Chinese character, Wei Ji, diba? Wei Ji means crisis. But it also means that in crisis, there is opportunity. Take a look at the country right now, that yes, we're in a major crisis, but at the same time, so many opportunities are here right now. And the first thing is bring that business over here to the Philippines. Bring it here right now. The infrastructure is present. You can grow so much to do a lot for the country during this crisis time.
Wow. Thank you for that. So much optimism and very infectious. No? But going back to the pandemic, RJ, we've seen the ugly head of the pandemic and the recession that came about on worldwide. We see economies being affected by this pandemic, no, on a much greater scale. So perhaps the question here now is, in this context of the pandemic and its impact on the economy, can you somehow explain to us about, since you mentioned that it is also an opportunity, there, when there's a challenge, it's also an opportunity. I want to take off from that principle. Maybe you can tell us about what entrepreneurs like you, for example, are doing to bounce back from the slump.
Perfect question. Thanks so much for asking, CONGEN. No? Director Celine from Silicon Valley PTIC, from the DTI over there, was mentioned this to you earlier on. But you know, at the start of this crisis, I worked together with Jason De La Rosa. He put together a group called Bounce Back on Facebook, and Bounce Back was really a business support group because, you know, at the time we really didn't know what to do during the start of this crisis. And we were just there to see how we as entrepreneurs could do well with each other. And as entrepreneurs, one of our greatest resources is really not just, you know, it's our thinking and our network. You know, let me just share this story. And I know that this happened in the States. Somebody was saying that he found somebody who had just closed down his restaurant. And after he closed down his restaurant, he was furiously scribbling for new business ideas as to what to do. And somebody asked him, don't you feel bad that right now your business just closed down and you're writing down new ideas? At yung sabi niya really struck me. He said that it's okay to run out of money. What is not okay is to run out of good ideas. And that was sort of key with putting back the Bounce Back official group. The Bounce Back group did two things. Initially, when we put it up, it was number one, to help the frontliners. There, you know, we the efforts were still uncoordinated at that time. We had to make sure, how could we feed the frontliners? How could we get PPEs to the frontliners? How could we get face masks to the frontliners? How could we feed the frontliners? That was one of the first things that had to happen. The second thing as well is, how do we help the distressed communities? There were many communities, at the start, because it was very hard to coordinate. How could we get food to them? There were people who didn't have food, who didn't have transportation. That's one thing that we had to do. The next one was really to bring together different people saying, what do we do? What's the opportunity now? We've lost jobs, particularly those, we're a highly service-oriented community. Our economy is highly service-oriented. Tourism, events. I'm a host. I lost a lot of jobs during the ECQ. What do we do with them? So it was a time for those communities to actually come together. I actually run, like I said, a food market, Mercato Central. So my food market was closed because it was a place of mass gathering and there was no food. So it was a nice place to network and bring people together. So one of the best things that the Bounce Back did was, number one is to help different groups come together, discuss what are our action plans moving forward. And number two is, how can we pivot? How can we become more agile and transform what industries that we have right now? Because basically we have to take a look at what's the infrastructure of our business and how can we re-pivot those businesses so that they're still able to exist during this time. And that's what's been happening here right now. We're teaching smaller businesses to, number one, unfortunately, some people have been let go. But at the same time, that's a friction cost, meaning that they let go of jobs. But now what we have to do is find ways to upskill them, reskill them, give them other opportunities to do business. So one of the things we're doing right now is, that's why we're teaching a lot of people to go do things online e-commerce, online ordering, online upskilling. Let's say, for example, if you're a teacher before and you maybe your income is not quite there anymore, teach them to teach English as a second language online using these online educational platforms where they can be. So as an opportunity, especially in the States, I'm asking our friends in the States, if you are there and you can help us in this recovery, one of the ways to help us recover is to help hasten our digital transformation here in the country. Help create digital platforms. Come over here, do something where you can work within that sphere, within that sphere of improving things. No, let me take a look at the example of my business, Mercato Central, which is a food market. And I was telling Director Celine, it was such a great place to bring people. It's like our outdoor food market. It's like I saw it as a pain point when I initially put it up. How do we create a place where foreigners and locals can come enjoy local street food in a safe and hygienic environment? That's why we created the Mercato Central. But during this crisis, we couldn't open up. So what did we do? That was a pain point, and we were also losing money when it came to the business. We had to pivot what the business was about. Since we couldn't do it anymore physically, the market, we said, what are we in essence? We are an incubator for small food businesses. We brought the business digital. And so instead of ordering at a physical market, we brought all of our vendors online. We created an online ordering platform, and we got some delivery platform partners to be able to continue the business there online. But the bigger thing right now is that we're creating an app called the Mercato Food Finder app, which is a B2B2C, meaning a business-to-business and business-to-consumer app, where we connect everybody. We connect the small business owner. Kahit may-ari ka ng karinderya, gumagawa ka ng pagkain sa bahay, we will connect you to your customer. And also, we connect business-to-business. Kung kayo po ay may-ari ng production, you have a small farm, and you need to connect to a supplier, to a restaurant, we will connect you all in that setup. So that's what's happening right now. We're seeing a lot of pivoting of businesses where they have to take their original business and maybe you find a way to use technology to improve their ability to do business. And so that's one thing that I think that, especially if you're in Silicon Valley, that you can really help the country with. That maybe I can see things in a specific way of how to improve e-commerce, how to improve online ordering, how to do financial inclusion. But you in the States might have a bigger perspective, seen more different technologies, seen more methodologies that you can bring here to the Philippines. So for me, I'm still very optimistic. I mean, of course, it's problematic. There are things that we cannot fix immediately. Many entrepreneurs are out of work. But you can still help. And the way is, invest in the country, find ways to put up businesses. Which brings me to two different, I hope you don't mind I take your time, but which brings me to two other things as well. I run a business called Easyfranchise. And what's Easyfranchise, Congen? Easyfranchise is a digital platform that connects franchise owners to franchisees. So basically, you know, one of the pain points before, I give a lot of entrepreneurial talks. And I gave these talks in Dubai. And we brought an owner of a water refilling station there to the US, to Dubai. And she explained the benefits of a water refilling. In the Philippines, franchising is a big thing. Just to let people know, it's a big thing. And when she was there, almost all the OFWs in Dubai, when after gave the talk, wanted to get a water refilling station because, you know, it's a good business to run. And you know, most of the, you know, we have to remember, especially even the US, you know, these are not all OFWs are not all based from Metro Manila. They're based in the provinces all around the country. And water refilling is something that you can have in different parts of the country, right? You can put it up anywhere. So they all want to buy. And also many of these OFWs, their exit plan is that not to live forever in the Middle East. Unlike people who migrated to the States, many of the OFWs who go to the Middle East plan to come home to the Philippines again, right? And their exit strategy is not to live there, but rather to come home. And hopefully when they come home, they've got some sustainable long-term businesses that they can operate when they come back to the Philippines. So they wanted to get a franchise, right? But the second problem is this one. The bigger hurdle for them is that they ask, who can run the business when I come home to the Philippines? Who can run it while in my absence? Walang sagot yung water refilling station na yan. So then, nakita ko yung opportunity there. In a pain point, there's an opportunity. Number one, many of our OFWs, even Filipino Americans living in the States, they're looking for, let's say, franchise opportunities to open up in the Philippines. They can open up a water refilling or a convenience station or a convenience store or a gas station or a pharmaceutical in their province or in their small areas. They can operate that one. They want to invest in that one para makaroon ng negosyo, diba? If you open up these businesses, there's a multiplier effect. It's great for the community. So one thing, you can invest in the Philippines. But their second question is that, sino magpapatakbo ng negosyo ko habang nandiyan ako habang nandito ako sa US? Kahit pabisita lang ako dyan sa Pilipinas, sino magpapatakbo ng negosyo ko? Ayaw ko naman ibigay sa mga kamag-anak ko because there's usually conflict of interest. Hindi ba, Congen? I mean, if you give it to a friend or a family member, they might not run it properly. Mag-aaway pa kayo. So they need professional management services. And that's exactly what we've been doing here in Easyfranchise. We've accumulated more than 1,300 franchises from all over the Philippines where you can choose from. You can choose from based on your budget, based on your preference of industry, based on the return of investment. You can choose and you can do the application on a digital process. It's really digital. And there's even pre-approved locations for you to already put those businesses here. So, and then also we can have somebody run that business for you. So if you're in the States right now and you want to start off doing business in the Philippines, we can make it easy for you. One of the easiest things for you to do is to put up a franchise. Franchises in the Philippines have a 90% success rate. Why is that? Because these are businesses that are already running. They will teach you. They have a playbook. They have an operating manual to show you how to run those businesses properly. So if you're in the US right now, you want to start off, you can invest in franchises over here. And what we've been seeing, right? And then it's not just in Metro Manila. Put it in your province. Give people jobs over there in your provinces right now. That's how you can help restart the economy. In fact, the biggest franchises we've been seeing, the top 10 franchises we've been seeing here right now that people have been buying the most, aside from water refilling, is laundry. Because it's all work from home. People are busy at home. Somebody's got to do their laundry. So the laundries are doing well. The pharmaceutical. But yung pharmaceutical, more of the kiosk style, not the big box pharmaceuticals, but rather the smaller ones. And these are the ones near to the communities because of everybody's home right now because of the quarantine. These are doing really good in the Philippines. LPG is doing good because everybody's cooking from home right now. Nobody's eating out. These franchises are really exploding all over the Philippines. Also, water refilling is also doing. Aside from water refilling, what's also doing good is milk tea, because it's become an essential good here in the Philippines. And some of the smaller food is doing very well. So that's one of the things that we can help out. multiplier effect. You can do franchises in the Philippines. Also, if you're in the US and you think that you want to bring a franchise over to the Philippines, or you've got a business in the US which you think is ideal to bring to the Philippines as a franchise, we can help you. So we can help you set up those franchising companies in the Philippines. We can help you set up the franchise business model over here. We can teach you how to set it up, and you can start expanding it over the Philippines. We've got a great reach right now online to do business here in the Philippines. So again, that's Easyfranchise. Come over to me if you need that one. The third one, CONGEN, which is growing very big right now, is a company called Filipino Homes, which I work with in the Philippines. Now, this is something that you must realize, that you know what, all over the world, and the biggest money comes from the US. No, we get about $28.1 trillion coming in from all the OFWs sending money back to the Philippines. And one of the best things to invest in the Philippines is really first home housing, because that's got one of the largest multiplier effects to the country. That's really what builds business in the countryside, when you buy and build first homes. I'm not talking too much of the luxury condominiums, no, but rather the first homes that you put up. And this is what you must remember. The Philippines has one of the largest and most resilient housing markets in the Philippines, because unlike in the States, it's a very mature housing market. The market in the States is buying and selling second homes already. But in the Philippines, there is a 5.7 million housing backlog. That means that those homes have not yet been built. And these are not the homes that are primarily Metro Manila. These are all over the country. And these are what I call economic and socialized housing properties. Those homes that are from the range of 500,000 pesos hanggang 1.5 to 2 million pesos. Yan yung mga bahay na kailangan gawin sa Pilipinas, and we're building that all over the country. And Filipino Homes, what does it help you do? Because right now, when you put up homes, diba, usually yung bisita lang sa US, yung mga nagro-roadshow po dyan, yung mga nagbebenta ng mga property, ng mga medyo high-end, mga luxury condos, diba? But what Filipino Homes does is, if you go online right now, is that you can choose property in any part of the Philippines. I mean, they're literally selling homes that are in Butuan, in Surigao, in Bohol, in Naga, in Kamsur, in Quezon Province, in Cavite, in Batangas, in Laguna. These are really the properties which people need. So if you're there right now and you're looking to buy property in the Philippines, we suggest that you buy first home properties. If you live in the Philippines or you come home regularly to the Philippines, buy some of these affordable homes in your home province. Or if you want to, may tinutulungan kang kamag-anak dyan to start off, help him start off buying property in the Philippines in their respective provinces. Right now, you can actually talk to CONGEN. They can help you with Pag-ibig financing. That's our Provident Housing Fund. They can help you with Pag-ibig housing. They can help you get housing loans through PNB in the States for your Philippine properties. These are really great, no? And if you also need to rent some of them also as well, I know many people who live in the States right now, they might have properties that they bought in the Philippines that need to be rented out, but they don't know who to do it. Through Filipino Homes, we have a rent.ph platform where we can also help you rent out those properties in the Philippines. We can manage it for you, diba? Because many of them left behind properties na hindi gumagalaw or they need to be rented. We can do that for them as well. And the third one, CONGEN, and I know this all the time, in the States, maraming minaiwan na property dyan. May mga properties that they own, they don't know how to touch it, they want to sell it, or they want to buy properties. We can help them do it in this one platform here in Filipino Homes. You know what? Let me tell you a very interesting story. During this lockdown, Filipino Homes, believe it or not, sold 3 to 4 billion worth of residential properties here in the Philippines during the lockdown period. And that was primarily through Facebook, just marketing it to the PhilAms, to the OFWs all over the world, because they were also on lockdown. So they were also buying properties here in the Philippines. But these are what I call, again, first home properties. You've got to make sure the properties that you choose are properties which really spur a multiplier effect in terms of the economy. So if you're interested to invest in property in the Philippines, sell your property in the Philippines that you've been holding for such a long time, but you don't know who to talk to, or you want to have your properties rented, because they're also great multiplier effects for the country. Talk to me. Just send me a message. I'll be RJ Ledesma, Filipino Homes. You can see that online. Get in touch with me. We'd love to do that as well. And CONGEN, one more thing pala, no? Also, if you're living in the States and you also want to market properties here in the Philippines, these affordable properties to your kababayans there in the US, get in touch with me. We've got a great program where we've got a great network of Philabs already helping market properties in the Philippines to the US and help grow the economy. One of the largest, again, multiplier effects in the Philippines, in the Philippine economy is real estate, because it's construction. You're giving jobs to not just architects, you're giving jobs to foremans, to construction workers, to the bankers, to people, to everybody involved, to the security guards managing those areas. Let's start investing in the Philippines. It's a really, really great place. You just have to look hard enough for those opportunities.
Wow, that's great to hear. With all those, I suppose I will mention them as silver linings in the context of this pandemic, no? And do you really think and sincerely believe that despite the pandemic, and we still don't know how long or this is going to last, do you really think that those opportunities that you just mentioned will continue to be sustainable now and beyond the pandemic?
Okay, that's a really great question for asking, CONGEN. No? Let's first talk about the setting up a business in the Philippines. For me, that's a great thing because it's happening already right now. There's already a work from home system. But let me step back a bit more. No, I have a podcast. So if you want to watch it, it's called the RJ Ledesma podcast. It's available on Spotify. It's also on YouTube, and it's also on Facebook. And I just recently interviewed two economists. Number one, he's the chief economist of RCBC, Rizal Commercial Banking Corporation, named Michael Ricafort. And also, I interviewed as well.
Did you say Conrad Ricafort?
Michael Ricafort. Michael Ricafort. And also, Dr. Alvin Ang. He is the director of the Ateneo de Manila Center for Economic Research and Development. And we were talking about the Philippines, no? A couple of things. Why I'm very bullish in the end, no? Out of the bullishness, actually, it was Michael Ricafort who was telling me, the guy from the RCBC, saying all the economic fundamentals are in place. The infrastructure is good. He really sees that we will have what we call more of what we call a U-shaped recovery from the business, from this crisis. And the vaccine is coming out also very soon. Whether it's the Russian, the Chinese, the US, we're going to see the vaccines coming out. And number two, Dr. Alvin Ang says, because we are a consumer-driven economy here in the country, to get people to start moving again in a consumption-driven economy, it's a confidence-building measure, right? You've got to get people wanting to spend again over here. And really, what I think we're shifting into here in the country is that especially in the business sector, is to say that we have to manage living with the virus. We are having all the protocols which are in place to start reopening the economy, and it seems to be working, which is very good. And if we have the confidence, it will result in consumption. At the same time, the infrastructure is in place, both from a fiscal standpoint, from an actual infrastructure standpoint. We're doing all the things correctly moving forward. And the demographics of the country won't change. We've got great demographics here in the country. The median age in the Philippines is 23.1 years old. And that is, when you've got a good economy. Prior to this one, we were growing at an average of 6%. Of course, the economy will dip, but when we pick up again, like I said, the only thing that got affected was basically this health crisis. But when we get back on track, the economy will go back on track as well. But the demographics are in place. We've got a young economy. We've got good demographics. We're doing good infrastructure investment. Our tourism, whatever's going to happen, is going to, after this is done, the tourism industry will boom again. So I'm very encouraged by all these different factors that I see will improve the country. So if you're looking at, say, first of all, the BPO industry, it's all work from home. People are all doing remote work right now. Even for the BPO industry, we can technically, I put up a business during this crisis, CONGEN. I put up for Filipinos, we grew that business during this crisis. We've been setting up companies during this crisis. They've been setting up actual physical structure, of course, with the proper protocols in place, but they've been setting up offices over here. And they like it because it's addressing current problems of this pandemic. So as far as outsourcing is concerned, really great time to start is right now. These fintech solutions, they're doing it right now because they're taking advantage of how the digital transformation can really affect and improve the economy right now. So it's a great time. So that works, right?
Yes.
In terms of franchising, why is it a good time right now? Because the demand is still there for consumption. It's just changed because people are at home. So is it a good time for me to put up an LPG franchise? This is the best time to put up the LPG franchise. The best time for the pharmaceutical, the best time for water refilling is right now. In fact, if you wait a bit longer, the prices, they're giving pandemic-friendly discounts, terms of arrangement to get these franchises right now. If you're going to put it in a nice place, wag mo ilagay sa mall. Yung mga stand-alone. Or baka may property ka sa probinsya, pwede mo ilagay dyan kung may sari-sari store ka dyan. O kahit sa likod ng bahay mo, pwede mo ilagay yung franchise dyan. Pwede mo gawin ngayon, di ba? And the demand is there for that one already. For people to operate those type of things. That's great. On number 3, if you look in terms of Filipino homes, when is the best time to buy property? It's always yesterday, the best time to buy property. And we're talking about the property that you want to buy are not for rental income purposes, but rather these are the properties which people will live in. So if you want to buy right now, buy a home which you if you're not going to live in it, buy a home for a relative that you have, or buy a home in your province which you can own. And you can again, in Filipino homes, you can choose from many different from anywhere. We hold about 500 plus accredited developers from around the country. You could choose from any of them. And at the same time, if you want, I strongly encourage you, if you want to be part of our network in Filipino homes, to market properties to your fellow Phil-Ams and to any Filipino living all over the States, get in touch with me. We've got such a vibrant, active market of Filipino Americans marketing Filipino homes, these affordable homes to properties in the US. And it's doing a really good job. So all these things will help stimulate the economy. But more importantly, I think, I've had to close down a business, CONGEN, but I'm still very optimistic because, like I said, it's not the running out of money, it's the running out of ideas. And right now, everything is moving to the digital space to do business. It's the agility of free thinking, how a business operates. And when you rethink that one, when you turn those problems into opportunities, things are great. My mercato might be closed physically, but now that I'm creating a B2B2C app, I'm literally making Mercato go online, giving more people opportunities. Alam mo yung bagong usong pagkain dito ngayon, yung tinatawag ng ube cheese pandesal, pati sushi bake. Masyadong, ang dami naman ganyan ngayon dito. I want to help those small businesses because I help them all by bringing them online. Diba? So I'm literally doing a service for them by if what on the phone you can just say, I'm looking for ube cheese pandesal in my neighborhood. Hindi mo alam kung saan eh. Now, because of digital transformation, I can choose kung may masarap galing Quezon City, galing Makati, galing Mandaluyong. So you can have different delivery providers help you out. These are the interesting things that are happening here in the country. And we think that you guys in the States, you're the first one to come over here and help us grow this economy. Help us get everything back on track. And more importantly, there's so much, you know what, you might think, adaming mga OFW na umuwi dito, paano yung Pilipinas, paano yung mga remittances? Well, in the States, I hope that you can continue to remit money over here, but more than just remit, invest in the country, put it into good businesses here. And the OFWs that are coming home, yes, I admit there are some coming home, but you know what? There are many OFWs who are in positions where they're so strategic they cannot be removed. In Dubai, these are the IT people, the managers in Dubai. These are our nurses abroad. These are our engineers abroad. These people are caretakers abroad. Even if they're domestics abroad, they're very important positions. They're employed by some very wealthy families. They won't be sent home. They continue to send home money to the country. So if you think about this one, we think that after this crisis is done, we will continue to improve and continue to grow the country. And we want you. You've got the blood in you. Kumbaga, you've got the Filipino blood, that entrepreneurial spirit. That entrepreneurial migrant spirit that brought you to the US, bring some of the spirit back home to the Philippines, become a migrant coming back to the Philippines again, become an economic migrant coming back to grow the opportunities. Anyway, you can travel back and forth from the US to the Philippines, diba? So let's do that. And right now, this is the perfect chance because of this crisis. You can go on Zoom right now, close deals on Zoom, create business opportunities on Zoom. And if you're looking for the business opportunity, just get in touch with me. I will be your, kumbaga, I will be your entry point. I'll be your gatekeeper. I help you whether it comes to setting up a business in the Philippines. You want to outsource, or you want to bring your startup here to the Philippines. You want to get a franchise in the Philippines, or you want to get a property here in the Philippines. Let me help you. Let me be your ambassador back to the country.
Wow, good to know. So for those who are, and you made a practical suggestion, for those who are perhaps have that desire yet lack information and courage, then they can approach you to get more information in terms of pursuing that desire into a reality. No? The other thing you mentioned also, RJ, people will continue to eat.
Yes, yes. Oh.
No matter with the pandemic or without what has changed is the manner and the character by which we now order that food. No longer perhaps in person, but as you said, on a digital platform, you will facilitate that. No?
And you adjust. And that's why I love, that's why, when Celine talked to me, and you're from Silicon Valley, diba? So, the entrepreneurial mentality there is so quick. Eh? So, and you know what? There are things that they might realize there. We might not have the tech, it's either that you realize you got the idea, and there's the technology, and you just have to be present to it. And the great thing is that if you can see all these opportunities coming out right now, then you've got that Silicon Valley brain or that US trained brain to see these opportunities, and you've got the resources to back it up, and you've got the technology to back it up and the capital to back it up. Best time to come to the Philippines. Best time to come to the Philippines.
RJ, in fact, on that point, I have a question for you, no? And I can see your optimism. On the point of entrepreneurial spirit, you mentioned people here in the Silicon Valley. The assumption is, and they have the entrepreneurial spirit, but Filipinos are spread outside also, and there are more. In that respect, I want to ask you: do you really believe that the new generation of Filipinos, not only here but elsewhere in the Middle East as well, do you really think that there's a transition toward gaining that spirit of being entrepreneurial? Because we know traditionally that Filipinos would always measure success in terms of being able to enter
Yes.
employee of a company. Do you really feel that there's a transition happening right now?
Okay, that's a really great question, also, Congen, no? And it's also a generational thing, and it's also a thing that came from, I guess, a part of our Western culture that was ingrained to us from when America, when we were calling America, because we were kind of taught that to be of any success you have to have a degree, and aside from having a degree, you must be gainfully employed. I mean, we used to have that employee mentality that to be successful, you're licensed teacher, licensed engineer, and so titles are very key to us moving forward, right? But this entrepreneurial, this second generation, this millennial generation, and this zillennial generation, and this actually came from a study from my good friends over here. I'm trying to remember the name of their company right now, but they did an actual study of millennials here in the Philippines, and it's changing. It's changing where they're becoming more entrepreneurial. I work a lot with the Philippine Center for Entrepreneurship, or Negosyo, which was being spearheaded by the Presidential Advisor for Entrepreneurship, Joey Concepcion. And I've been actually traveling the country together with them and giving forums teaching about entrepreneurship. And we're seeing more and more of the younger ones getting into entrepreneurship because they're looking at the business models right now of they're very, well, maybe the word for it might not be impatient, but because they've got information at their fingertips, literally, like before. It took us a longer time to learn versus their ability to learn. Kumbaga, their learning curve is much quicker and faster because of access to technology, access to information is much easier for them. And at the same time, who are the models that they're seeing? People like Mark Zuckerberg from Facebook, people, who kind of skip the whole going through a career to get established. Many people, because of this because of startups, because of other companies, because they leverage technology, are able to short circuit the process of saying, I don't need to have this job to become successful. In fact, there are so many jobs nowadays which are coming up which were not existent when we were in college or high school. Data scientists, game developers, all these different things. So really, I'm thinking that what's happening right now, there's a generational and a mindset shift where they're no longer seeing entrepreneurship as something na parang, oh, wala kang makuha trabaho, mag-entrepreneur ka na lang. No, they're seeing entrepreneurship now as a viable career choice. And that's how I see myself, diba? I see myself like as a serial entrepreneur. My thing right now is, I keep on putting up businesses because I am passionate about solving problems as an entrepreneur. And, it's really more of the entrepreneurial mindset. And that's what we're trying to do right now. I think that more and more Filipinos are going to be going into this entrepreneurship right now. And how do they know that? Because during this crisis, many people have to turn to become entrepreneurs. Because of this crisis, I've been actually holding so many webinars where we're teaching people how to become good food online and home-based food entrepreneurs because they're all selling their food online. And they just need to be trained how to become good entrepreneurs. Or some people right now are learning how to change their services as well online. So, kumbaga, entrepreneurship is all about diskarte, di ba? Diskarte is important. But what we often tell people is that with diskarte, entrepreneurship is just one piece of the pie. What I say is, di ba, entrepreneurship is all about solving problems. But it is how uniquely you solve that problem is where the innovation lies as an entrepreneur. If you solve it just the same way as everybody else, then okay lang yan, di ba? But if you can do something a little bit different that nobody else can copy, that's where entrepreneurship innovation lies. And right now, everybody's becoming an entrepreneur in the Philippines. We can see that spirit. We can see that with the number of people who are becoming entrepreneurs as a result of this crisis. But yeah, I think that it's changing worldwide. It's not just a Philippine trend; it's a global trend. Many of our OFWs abroad, many of their kids are growing up. They're also realizing that, hey, I can do this. I can do this, and with technology, I can easily market my product. I can learn right now online, and I can market my product online as well.
Wow, that's great. Actually, I was about to say we're almost at the end of the time, no? But you made me interested on that point, the use of the digital technology. Do you think that the digital platforms and the use of digital technology is an equalizing factor, sort of, that levels the playing field between big businesses and small and MSMEs? You think it plays a role in leveling the playing field? As pandemic taught us that lesson, and therefore an opportunity for those SMEs and MSMEs to soar using technology.
That's basically what's happening here right now in the country, CONGEN. That it's really the digital commerce which has been the great game changer and the great equalizer for many of these small businesses to be able to grow so fast and so quick. Because right now it's really people who understand, and to be honest, it's people who understand. The millennials are doing such a good job because they understand Facebook, they understand the algorithm of Facebook, they understand how to market online. They understand how to tell a story online. So it's changing literally right now. I'm seeing that what this crisis did when it leveled everybody. Big and small companies were almost all on the same playing field, and the only thing that made them different was how well they could market themselves online. So, like I said, yes, it's the great level, and that's why if you are in the States right now and you want to do business over here, and you're very good at understanding social media marketing, it's time to come over here because we've got one of the the social media penetration in the Philippines is probably one of the highest, not just in Southeast Asia but the world. Even Facebook usage is so large over here. So I'm thinking that if you do the business over here right now and you understand digital commerce, digital marketing, all these different things, it's a good time to come to do business. Help these MSE. You can help our MSMEs grow, either by being an MSME or participating in that whole ecosystem where you're able to grow them from a digital standpoint.
Wow, that's amazing. Actually, it's so refreshing to listen to you. I think we should not end here. We should have a part 2.
Anytime. And I can bring over some partners here and more resource speakers, CONGEN, anytime.
That's great. And we will explore with you on that. But unfortunately, we have come to our time limit. And so, pero bitin pa kami. Maybe we'll talk about the part two of this. But perhaps to close, RJ, maybe you can give us your final thoughts, especially in the context of the Filipinos under our jurisdiction. You know, we call ourselves San Francisco Consulate General, but actually there are 9 other states under our jurisdiction. Altogether, we have something like 1.3 million Filipinos under our care, as far as Alaska to the north, and Utah and Colorado, Idaho to the east. No? Perhaps if I may ask RJ, what parting words would you like to give these people, especially those who are still kind of cautious in terms of putting that investment in the Philippines? What would be your final thoughts or message to those people who are still kind of cautious in their approach?
Well, number one is I'd like to first of all offer my prayers and good thoughts and intentions to all the Filipinos, Filipino Americans. I know that it's been a trying time in the U.S. It's also been a trying time here in the Philippines as well for all of us. So my prayers to all of you and also to your family members here in the Philippines. And with regard to the cautiousness, I understand, especially some of the circumstances which are in your mind as to when you left the Philippines, it might not have been so favorable. At the same time, all that you see in the news is the doom and gloom. But like I said, I'm here on the ground. I'm seeing the opportunities. If I came to you and said, you know, I feel so bad about what's happening. I mean, look at me. If you look at my business, it was a food business. I had to close it down. I had to change what's happening. I've had to survive 5 months over here of trying to fend for myself and improve and change the business atmosphere. But I'm still very optimistic. And why is that? Because I'm seeing that, you know, there's that strong resilience of the Filipino spirit. And we're going to, talagang tatayo tayo ulit. But the bigger thing is I'm seeing the opportunities that lie here in the Philippines. And again, you got to step back and think, you know, if that little migrant spirit, that entrepreneurial spirit that brought you to the States to find greener pastures is there, I also ask you to relook the Philippines and see that maybe what I left behind, there are some greener pastures also that are still there. I just have to work a bit harder at seeing them. But once you see them, they will grow. There are many Philams who are looking at the Philippines again. In fact, sinasabi ko lagi, bakit yung ibang lahi pa yung tumitingin sa bansa natin para makita yung mga oportunidad? Maybe because they were trained just to think of things entrepreneurially, to see those opportunities there. Kayo po na nanggaling po dito, kayo po na may dugo na maharlika, why don't you look again at the Philippines and see, there are opportunities which might have escaped my notice before, but now they are coming back to me. Maybe it was not just a coincidence that you saw this one. It was serendipitous na napapanood po ninyo ngayon yung ating interview ng content, because you're saying right now, I have a property back home which can be developed or sold. I have a place back home that I can put a franchise in. I have a business here in the States that I can bring back to the Philippines. I can franchise in the Philippines. Or maybe there's a property that you can buy here. Maybe you can relook your hometown right now and see that there's a development happening there that you might want to get a property in. It's a good time to relook things. And especially in this crisis, remember that in every crisis, there is an opportunity.
Wow. I think that's a very good note for us to end the program. No? And I would like to leave it at that. High note and high optimism. And this is something that hopefully will be spread, will be shared, and hopefully can be translated later into actual investment in the Philippines. And let's not wait. Grab it when the opportunity is there. So on that note, thank you very much, RJ, for...
Thank you, CONGEN. Just one more thing, CONGEN, if you don't mind, CONGEN, I hope when they show this mamaya konti, they're able to show the how to get in touch with me. So again, if they want to get in touch with me with putting up a business, they can get in touch. They can look at my website, EnterPH.com, or you can use my email address. I hope they can show it later on. Also, Easyfranchise, if you are looking for potential franchises which you want to choose from, just visit Easyfranchise.com to choose those franchises. It's absolutely free to set up a franchise consultation. Or if you want to bring a franchise over to the Philippines or set up a business over here in the Philippines for franchising, let me know. I'm glad to do that as well. And if you're also looking to invest in a property in the Philippines or buy and sell a property in the Philippines, or you want to market Philippine properties, the affordable housing in the US, please feel free to get in touch with me as well. That's RJ Ledesma Filipino Homes on Facebook, or you can also send me an email over here. And I'm glad. I hope CONGEN, this is just one of many series we can do. We can drill down, do a lot more, do more talks on investing in the Philippines, outsourcing to the Philippines. Always glad to be of service para sa bayan.
Wow, yeah, thank you for that, and definitely we will hold on to you and not allow you to go. No,
Anytime po, anytime.
Conversation, perhaps on another day in another platform. But as an SCE here, we'd like to spark and we'd like to connect and we'd like to empower. Definitely, you are a personification of that spark, connect, and empower objectives. And hopefully, we will have that session again with you. And we will definitely post your contact numbers, your email address, so that for those who are listening and would like to pursue these dreams of their desires of theirs to invest in the Philippines and help. I just want to emphasize that as well. It's not just about profit. It's also about helping. It's also about giving back. And this is also the right time to give back and be part of that recovery.
Yung bounce back ng Pilipinas po, bounce back rin po ang Pilipinas. Sa tulong po ng ating mga kapong Pilipino at mga kababayan sa iba't ibang parte ng mundo, babangon po yung Pilipinas ulit.
Definitely. And on that note, we're proud to say, Pinoy ako, proud ako. Mabuhay.
Mabuhay. Maraming salamat po, CONGEN. Mabuhay Pilipinas. Maraming salamat po.
Maraming beses na kitang nilayasan, iniwanan at ibang pinuntahan. Parang babaeng ang hirap talagang malimutan. Ikaw lamang ang aking laging pinabalikan. Manila, I keep coming back to Manila. Simply.
Our online celebration commemorates the 122nd anniversary of the proclamation of Philippine independence. I know, Dom, we are still in a pandemic and times are really tough right now, but that's not stopping us from celebrating our Filipino history, our culture, and our pride. And you know, tonight is the night to also honor the men and women who have really sacrificed so much amid the pandemic, our frontliners.
Hinahanap kita Manila, ang ingay mong kay sarap sa tenga. Mga
Mabuhay!
naglilipa,
And offer a toast.
mga babae mong nagagandahan. Take me back in your arms, Manila, and promise me you'll never let go. Promise me you'll never let go. Manila, Manila, I keep coming back to Manila. Simply ain't no place like Manila. Manila, I'm coming home.
That was a phenomenal performance.
Good morning there in Manila.
Hi, Sir Henry. Kamusta po kayo? We are okay here, and we enjoyed the reception, and then we also want to congratulate you for your celebration of the 122nd Philippine Independence Day anniversary.
And promise me you'll never let go. Promise me you'll never.
Ryan Kayabyab and the Ryan Kayabyab Singers, thank you very much.
Now, to cap our program, we wish to leave you with a video prepared by the Philippine Consulate General in San Francisco to honor Filipino frontliners all over the world.
Mabuhay po kayo.
From the bottom of our hearts, thank you very much po, and have a good night or have a good morning. Thank you. Good night. Pinoy ako, proud ako.
Ikaw lang